Hi, good evening, Anshul. We can have you back. All things are in place. So if you are here, we can start the session. Everybody is here.
Sure.
Hi, good evening. A very warm welcome to everyone. We have yet another informative webinar for this week. We had one very informative and useful webinar yesterday on a topic that was very close to all of our hearts, and we enjoyed going over time there. And today, there is another subject that has been on our radar for quite some time in the Outreach Collective, which is entrepreneurship, fundraising. There are a lot of aspiring uh, entrepreneurs here. And when both me and Bhakti were thinking about this session, we were thinking of people to invite to, and I told Bhakti that I have met this wonderful personality on LinkedIn. I saw his post and I got attracted to this guy, and he had his Calendly link, and I wrote to him and he's meeting me. And I'm so happy. I am glad that Anshul has taken time out for us in the community to talk about the art of fundraising. But before we get into the art of fundraising and we get more questions across to Anshul, I just want to introduce the Outreach Collective also to Anshul. The Outreach Collective, Anshul, as I discussed last we met, is a not-for-profit professional association of almost 250 plus educators from across India and Middle East. We are a fantastic bunch of, I call them some of the most intelligent, versatile people that you may uh, come across in education sector in India. I mean, it's very hard for us to box ourselves in one box and say, okay, this guy is a university representative, or he's just a career counselor at a high school, or if he's just an edtech entrepreneur. I mean, we are bubbling with ideas, we're bubbling with energy, and we want to maximize the potential that we have, each one of us has. It's a very, very talented bunch, and you will get to know some of them tonight through this conversation, through their questions that they'll be throwing at you, through their comments and whatever. I mean, in a way they would like to engage with you. Last week was when we opened up this invite to our membership and said, you are going to be here, and we had a fantastic response. In fact, we ran a poll and said, how many of you are interested in hearing more about entrepreneurship and fundraising? And there were almost 50 people out of 250 that said, yeah, we are going to be there for that session. So I'm so happy that Anshul is here with us. My name, by the way, is Ankur Vora. I'm the co-founder of the Outreach Collective. I'm also joined by Bhakti Shah, who is also my co-founder. She will be here around, but the session will be moderated by me. I am so happy to have Anshul Gupta here with us. Anshul, I'll just read out a brief bio. I mean, we had circulated his bio on the community web WhatsApp group, but again, for those of you who may not have a chance to go through the same, I'm going to read a brief bio for Anshul. Anshul is a 3x startup founder and a fundraiser with over 10 years of experience in launching and growing VC-backed business. He has a passion for helping founders achieve their dreams. He loves to share his insights, expertise on fundraising, strategy, leadership. And I think one of the key highlights from what I read through his complete bio was that he is also now a founder at Bharat Founder School. And when our Prime Minister talks about Viksit Bharat and Startup India, and we all get excited, and when we go to schools, we talk to students, go to universities, we talk to young students, we all talk about, how this is the startup nation now, and we are going gung-ho about building businesses from the scratch. Gone are the days when we were looking at only getting a job fresh out of college or from, business schools. Today, we are looking at setting up businesses, running on our own, being our own bosses, by the way. And education is no different across all verticals. We see India on the move. Thank you, Anshul, for joining us. I will, get straight to it. We'll love to know more about you. And it's a routine here at the Outreach Collective. We first like to know more about the speaker, the profile, not only the professional side, but the personal story of you being Anshul Gupta of today. I mean, how has the journey been from right through high school to university and then where you are?
Sure.
Welcome.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ankur. Really privileged to have this opportunity to be speaking I have had experience running education businesses myself, so that's a space which is close to my heart and hence happy to be speaking to other educationists, education entrepreneurs, right? People who are part of your community, right? Really glad to be doing that. Uh, Let me very quickly, go through my journey so far, right? My so my schooling actually happened all over the place. I attended 7 different schools all through my schooling time, and that was essentially because my father wasn't a central services and had a transferable job. So he would be transferred every now and then, and because of that, we also transferred. We also shifted bases with them. So ended up attending a lot of different schools. But post that, I did my engineering from Delhi College of Engineering, DCE. 3 years I worked with this consulting firm called EvalueServe, which after which went to Indian School of Business, ISB Hyderabad in 2008, 2009. Now that was a very, very interesting year. Why do I say this? Because that was the year when we had the financial crisis, right? So while we were going to ISB, all of us were quite gung ho, right? Saying, हमारा ISB में हो गया है, अब हम फन्ने कहाँ बन गए हैं, right? Like, so you was like, okay, now I don't need any of the people who I was with, and now I have a bright future, only to see Lehman Brothers and Satyam and a lot of these companies, just crash right in front of our eyes. And with that crashed our prospects for a interesting and high paying placement job out of campus. So we were the first and potentially the only batch which did not even get 100% placement coming out of ISB. So what did that do? That that did some funny things, right? One, what it so I had thought that after ISB, like every a good typical B school grad, I would go do some consulting job. After 3 years, 4 years in consulting, hopefully in a McKinsey or a BCG. After that, I will go and figure out what I want to do. But then I had thoughts of, yeah, I would want to start something. I want to be an entrepreneur. The downturn ensured that my opportunity cost came down so much that, for something that I planned to do 3, 4 years later, I ended up starting almost immediately after ISB. So for few months, I worked with a startup to just get a flavor of what a startup really means. And then I took plunge in 2010 to start my own journey as a founder. I started with this interesting business, which was essentially a rewards and recognition platform targeted towards corporate employees, right? Large IT, ITES companies, and we were providing them rewards and recognitions. Now, frankly, 2010 was not a period when startups were sexy, right? For that matter, today startup is pretty cool, right? Thanks, especially post Shark Tank and everything. Even your neighborhood auntie knows कि startup कुछ होता है, right? But back then in 2010, it was more closer to so for a service class background guy, that to somebody who has done okay academically, to go out and say कि मुझे धंधा करना है, was akin to saying कि नहीं मैं बॉम्बे जाके हीरो बनूंगा, right? So but my parents have always been very patient with me. Now that I am a parent myself, I appreciate that so much more, because I'm so much lacking in my patience compared to what my parents patience was. But they said, okay, करना है करो, ठीक है, we'll just ensure कि भूखे नहीं मरोगे, but beyond that you will have to figure it out yourself. So 2010 I started, but we did interesting stuff. It was very early stage for startups as we know today, right? Not that businesses were not getting built before, but just startup wala concept that was still new. And ended, so I built my first business. 4 years into it, we built something reasonable, and then we got an acquisition offer. So we ended up selling that business. Um and that was essentially a bootstrap business. We raised some money from individuals, but nothing spectacular. But post that experience, I actually started out again, and this time I started something in real estate tech. And when I did that part, this was the piece where we ended up raising around $5 million from funds like
Wow.
Speed Ventures and Bloom and a whole bunch of other small individual investors as well. Fast forward 4 years, we built that business. Then we got an acquisition offer from Prop Tiger, the company which also owns housing.com. So they made us an offer. We decided to take that offer. Lock, stock, barrel. We moved into Prop Tiger along with our team and the business. But into it for just a few months, and I realized that I really cannot be sitting so comfortably working for somebody. So that was the time when as we say na, chul came back, and I said कि खुजली आ रही है, अब मुझे फिर से कुछ करना है.
Uh,
So so I kind of sheepishly went back to my parents and my wife. Now I was married as well, and she had a decision. She had a seat at the decision making table. So I went back and said कि यार मेरे को तो कुछ करना है. And as luck would have it, my wife again said, okay, if that's what makes you happy. मैंने कहा यार चलो एक और चांस मिला है, फिर से लेते हैं. So that's what I did, and then I started building my edtech business, and this business was called Yellow Class. Yellow Class was a business which was built right in middle of COVID, with a very simple idea. We were doing extracurricular classes, digital extracurricular classes, actually mass market, for uh, you're saying something, but I think you are on mute.
नहीं, मेरी वाइफ आ गई थी वो कुछ
Okay. No, no.
Sorry.
No, wives are important. No, so the point is, yeah, coming back. So we started Yellow Class. Yellow Class was, again, the idea was that kids were at home, and parents really had enough of them, and they wanted to put them into something productive. They were looking for digital solutions beyond TV and YouTube and video games. Whether कुछ भी कर लो, वो मत करो और हमारा खून मत पियो. So in a sense, that was the problem statement that parents had. And Yellow Class was like, we were doing a lot of art classes, dance classes, chess, yoga, things like those. And these were kind of one is to infinite. So we would do some live classes like these, and a lot of hundreds of kids can join at the same time and would do art at the same time. And it had massive adoption during COVID because of just the environment that there was. It has massive adoption. We were growing like 20-30% every week, right? And that was kind of a space where we did not even know how are we going to manage this kind of adoption. Say, how will our systems manage it 2 months later, because we were growing that fast. uh, and during this, while this was also interesting times in the whole ecosystem, in funding ecosystem, edtech was on boom, post COVID. And we ended up, over the next year and a half, we ended up raising $10 million from multiple investors. So we raised from Elevation Capital, again, one of the top 5 funds. We raised from India Quotient. We raised from Titan Capital, which is Kunal Behel's fund. We also had a couple of unicorn founders like Vidit Atre and of Misho, and Varun Alag of Mamaearth. All of them invested in our company. We did that journey, went through that whole process. But unfortunately for us, the post-COVID environment was not really pro online pro kids or pro extracurriculars. I think on all three fronts, we were facing massive headwinds, and which was the reason where we eventually had to move into a different direction in the post-COVID environment. And that was the time when I had some differences in the direction of how the business should be or what we should be doing. And that is the point when I decided that I want to step out of the business. I had some strategic differences with my co-founder. So I said, why don't you continue and build this business in the way the board and you want, and I'll step out. So that is what I did. After kind of taking a break of a few months, I started kind of helping some of my fellow, co-founders, friends, references, in helping them get the fundraising playbook right. I think there's a lot of confusion in terms of what fundraising is, what all it takes. Uh, Unfortunately, nothing trains us for it. Absolutely nothing trains you for it. But you understand how that game is played when you have played it often. So, given that I had experience of raising this 15 million odd dollars in the last two businesses over 5, 6 different rounds, I understood कि ये game कैसे खेला जाता है, and that is what I started helping other founders with. I said, set your narrative right, set your pitch right. ऑफ कोर्स आजकल बहुत लोग एक्सपर्ट हो गए हैं शार्क टैंक देख देख के, लेकिन अनफॉर्चुनेटली that's not the reality. Shark Tank is essentially built for entertainment, not for really telling the reality of what it takes to build a startup. But ठीक है, that is so. But I do feel things like Shark Tank have really ignited the curiosity of the general population, where I feel starting up or being an entrepreneur is the new UPSC of urban India, where everybody wants to do it, right? Again, much like UPSC, success rates are tough, right? They are not very high, but the fact is people want to do it, and I do believe this is great for the nation rather than becoming and the brightest people wanting to become sarkari babus. It is better that they become innovators, business builders, and employment givers. So yeah, exciting times, and that is what I am contributing my way with Bharat Founder School, where we help founders understand how to raise capital, and get their fundraising process and playbook in place. So we co-lead and kind of guide them on what to do.
Thank you so much, and I'll talk more about Bharat Founder later on. But you have covered a lot of very interesting aspects of your both personal and professional journey. I mean, intense, and I'll take it bit by bit. I mean, I just want to highlight once again. I mean, you studied at Delhi College of Engineering, 2001 and 2005. You graduated. That's the same year I graduated from. So I'm also an engineer. And then you went to Indian School of Business after a short stint at work. I also did the same.
Oh, wow.
I also went to a 2-year MBA college, 2008 to 2010. So I mean, pretty similar. And when I joined 2008, my B school, it was like, oh wow, this is like the best time to be in a B school. Placements are skyrocketing. We'll have a best time of our lives. I mean, seniors were telling us, "आ जाओ, बस बहुत अच्छी jobs लग रही हैं, placements बहुत अच्छी जा रही हैं." And then the world fell down. And you're absolutely right. The opportunity cost for doing something innovative just came down because there were no high-paying jobs at that point of time in that era. I mean, I think the whole next 3-4 years was like really cold for placements and all. But I think, Anshul, I just want to bring one aspect here, and I want to clarify this. You are I mean, you went to the couple of very, very, very good colleges, DC and ISP, and I'm sure startup was not the only option for you. I mean, you went to these two magnificent colleges, and you would have that network. You will have that, people to fall back upon, and you will have those connections. But still, you chose a route which was in those years was again not pre Shark Tank India. आई मीन आपने जैसे बोला भी कि पेरेंट्स will like कि क्या करने चाह रहे हो, तो आप बोलोगे अगर मैं धंधा करने जा रहा हूँ, तो वो पेरेंट्स विल बी कितना पैसा लगाया इंडियन स्कूल ऑफ बिजनेस को, इट्स नॉट इजी टू अफोर्ड इंडियन स्कूल ऑफ बिजनेस, सो आई एम श्योर देयर इज अ कॉस्ट देयर.
Yeah.
So what made you, I mean, just a thought, is was it that before Indian School of Business you were thinking of starting up, and or was it the economic situation at that point of time pushed you towards entrepreneurship? I mean, what was that
See,
moment, that aha
I'll
moment?
be very
Is there
honest.
one?
Yeah, very good question. And I'll be very honest. I was working in this company called eValueServe, and there everybody's dream is to go to McKinsey. ठीक है, तो I and then B school of course trains you only to be a consultant, right? B school
Yeah,
में इससे कि प्रधानमंत्री से भी ऊपर consultant होता है, right? Which is
yeah,
the truth that they keep pushing, and people believe, right? Like consulting is the best thing that you can do in life. So that was my thought when I joined ISB. I had no plans that I will start my
yeah.
business immediately after ISB when I was going for ISB. But once I was there, I think there were a bunch of things and circumstances that really caught my eye, ideas that really fueled my curiosity, and the fact that my opportunity cost had come down, right? Frankly speaking, I was getting a job at Deloitte after ISB, which is not bad, right? So I was still getting Deloitte, and Deloitte at in those periods, Deloitte was like, very high graded company. It
Yeah,
still is.
great place to work
Yeah,
still.
but it is. But somehow I said, यार ऐसा भी क्या है? I can, if I really have to start, I can start, right? सोचने की बात है. I think it is more of a itch, right? Once you say, नहीं, I really want to do it, then I think logic at times just, and frankly speaking, logically speaking, somebody can still argue that you should do this and not do that, but somehow I kind of made up my mind, and I had a support system, an ecosystem which was
Yeah,
full enough. From that
yeah, yeah.
perspective, I think I was lucky, right? And each one of us is lucky to that extent, where we get some rope. There are other people who don't get those options as well. For them, their liabilities are such that they are not able to do things. But kind of I have luck to credit as well.
And luck, and then you're not one time startup founder, you're three times. I mean, three companies you set up and sold and raised funds. I mean, that's not easy. I mean, TOC is a not for profit that we are doing, and sometimes me and Bhakti are like, "Arey yaar, ye itna kaam hai." Matlab, to manage a not for profit in itself is. But when you raise money and you have board to be accountable to, and then you have employees and customers, and
Uh,
I mean, so and I think you kind of started to enjoy it. I mean, that's the only way I can say. Put in
I
like three
don't,
companies to be founded.
I don't, I'll be very honest with you. Uh, you can only do it if you're enjoying it.
Yeah,
And most people are enjoying it, right? You get addicted to it. ये भी एक लत है,
yeah.
right? So think of people who go to mountains, हिमालय चले गए. या मुझे बिल्कुल पसंद नहीं है, माउंटेनियरिंग करना. या मैं
Hmm.
कहता हूँ, क्यों अपनी भरवा रहे हो यार, क्यों क्यों अपनी, यानी क्या क्या प्रॉब्लम है, राइट? लेकिन people who like going mountaineering, they get addicted to mountaineering. There's
Yeah,
जो rush है, I can't live without
yeah.
the rush, right? I think entrepreneurship is very similar. Once you get into that mode where you say, oh, I need to do this. This is something I cannot stop thinking about doing this, right? So then you have no choice but to do it.
A lot of the times, when we go to these schools, I do a lot of, sometimes I get to talk to a lot of students, and they will ask me, sir, best career choice क्या है? I'll ask them, आपको क्या लगता है? And most of the times, sir, पैसा तो business में ही है. And you ask them, कैसे? So they say, sir, वो Shark Tank, or, we see all these startup founders becoming overnight multi-millionaires. So I feel that ये जो परसेप्शन शार्क टैंक के बाद, you're right, एक तो परसेप्शन हुआ कि people started thinking about startup as a, but you know there is also a dual side to this, that people have started thinking only of the big money that they believe they can make, but not thinking of solving the problem that exists, that the value add is the real thing in entrepreneurship, is solving a problem, and the money is the side of it. But people are now thinking, you gave the UPSC analogy in this country. UPSC I mean, we just had the UPSC results a week back, and the whole country went.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm on that side of the debate where I say, okay, these guys did some work, got selected to a government job. Very good, congratulations. But the whole nation does not need to come to a stop and celebrate in media that these people are the brightest of this country. And there is a whole debate that went on Twitter about this whole saga. But I think startups को लेके भी अभी वो वाला craze नहीं है. If I go to the schools, people still are fascinated with UPSC with that level, sir. IAS, Lal Batti, IPS, or I'll get into a cushy job and I'll have the power and authority. Startups के साथ जो उनका जुड़ाव है, it's because of money. They feel it's easy money. You go to an investor and raise a lot of money, and then you can have the time of your life. I mean, what do you feel about this whole misconception about startups, and thinking that now anybody can come up with a business idea and go to a VC and say, I have this idea, please fund me?
सर देखिए, सब तरीके की हाइप गलत होती है, ठीक है। यूपीएससी की भी हाइप फेक है, ठीक है, और स्टार्टअप्स की भी हाइप है वो फेक है, राइट। सो आई कैन टेल यू विद सम लेवल ऑफ अथॉरिटी, माय both my grandparents, my maternal and paternal grandparents, one is a retired IAS, the other retired IPS. So I know the bureaucracy side of things, right? They are nearly not as fancy as people make it out to be. Right? बहुत challenges हैं. There is reason why a lot of people should not go for it. Just like there is a reason why a lot of people should not go for startups, right? Frankly speaking, let me be brutally honest, right? Startups take a lot of time to mature. It takes a lot of time for money to actually flow to you, right? For that matter, a very large percentage of founders will take a lot of time to make real money. और कई बार आपको वो लेके लगता है यार इतना पैसा तो मैं अपना कुछ नौकरी कर रहा होता तो आई वुड हैव मेड दैट मच मोर मनी, right? At least I would not have to be, the variability and the uncertainty of the income would not have been, right? I could have earned so much more, and because of that predictability I could have probably gone to more expensive holidays. I'll be very frank, even today I feel that I could have probably gone to more expensive holidays if I had taken certain career choices. But I think that's not the point. The biggest problem with the Shark Tank led idea that you start something and you'll get lakhs and crores of funding is 100% fake, right? And even if you get that funding, it's not coming to your account, right? So when I say I raised $10 million, it did not come to my saving account. It came to the current account, and then I was answerable to my investor on how am I spending it. For that matter, I'll be very frank, I could afford a person at a salary that I have never drawn myself. Right? I could afford it, right? But the investor would not allow me to take that salary.
To have that salary,
They will be okay if we hire somebody who at that salary because the company can afford it, but they will still not allow me or my co-founder to have that salary. So बहुत सारे, I mean, there's a big difference between what is made out in public and what it is, right? It will take time for businesses to work. Having said that, I think entrepreneurship is a great track. I never have Monday blues. I look forward to working on Mondays. I'm probably a workaholic to a certain extent, but I love my work. I never feel कि अरे यार काम करना पड़ रहा है, right? The typical corporate thought process that people have, at least I don't have. I know most people who are on their own, whether they are big businesses or small or medium businesses, they all at least have a they have they probably have a better lifestyle, or say psychologically they are in a better place than in corporate jobs.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you so much. I also tell the same thing. When I start my sessions in school, so my first question, how many of you love coming to school on a Monday morning? And you know how many students raise their hand out of 10? Not even two. I mean, it will be one or two maximum. I mean, that's a sad story. And I tell them, how do you think this is going to change in university? If you're not enjoying your school days here, then how does university then job and whatever? I mean, the problem is the whole ecosystem of people working for the love of working and not for the money is a very distant thought process in many of our uh, students and even colleagues' head. I mean, even I have friends that are working and they hate their jobs, and I go and talk to them. Why are you doing it? Most of the time, they will tell me, "यार करना पड़ता है अंकुर तेरी तरह हर कोई नहीं हो सकता." I mean, who have, but
Yeah,
you
yeah.
also mentioned, I like you also alluded to this that some of us are lucky that we are able to do this because do not have those liabilities. I think that's honest in some aspect, but there are many people that can take that plunge but are not doing that because they feel way holidays and compensating the lifestyle and then comparisons and all that
अंकुर,
comes
I
in.
100% agree with you. उस पे एक point add करूंगा. The more secure your job is, the weaker you become mentally.
Yeah.
Right? Because आपको लगता है कि see, I was 2 days back, 3 days back, I was with a friend. His salary would be what? I think he would be earning like 1.5 CR per annum. ठीक है.
Yeah.
बिल्कुल. अब आपके देश में क्या है ऐसी चीज है जो आप नहीं खरीद सकते with
नहीं
that?
खरीद सकते बिल्कुल एक
Right?
1.5 करोड़ की सैलरी को.
But उसके ऊपर भी अभी है कि यार मैं छोड़ नहीं सकता. दैट इनसिक्योरिटी स्टिल परसिस्ट. तो मैंने कहा क्या ही हो जाएगा कि वो सिक्योरिटी इनसिक्योरिटी जाएगी. यानी यू आर देयर, योर ही इज आई एम ए ग्रेड एक्स पेटीएम एक्स strong background, right? But
Yeah.
this is what it is, right? The the deeper you get, the more insecure you feel.
Absolutely. Golden handcuffs. Neeraj is telling me, and I read a book which said salary is the new cocaine of the
Yeah.
world, another drug that people get addicted to, and then they don't find it very hard to get off it. And so, I mean, thank you so much for validating some of my thoughts about entrepreneurship and life as an entrepreneur. And I think it helps our community as well. People, please feel free to raise your hand if you want to come in, chime in. We are already halfway through this conversation, and we'll love to hear your thoughts also because this entire conversation has been created for the community. So, love to have more engagement coming in. But quickly moving on, I want to also talk about something very interesting that you have done, and that is the topic of this webinar, the art of fundraising. I mean, how do you get people to fund your ideas? And you have done it 3 times over. I mean, I'd love to know when was the first time that you raised money for your business, and how was that experience like? And any highlights when you were raising these three differences over the years that you saw when you started out as an entrepreneur, then you talked about the COVID time and the tech was at boom and everybody was funding right, left, right, center. And now with the winter coming in, and I mean, I love to have an overview from you on all these three aspects of fundraising.
One, see, fundraising is not a necessary step in an entrepreneurial journey. Number one, right? It may be relevant to you. It may not be relevant to you. So number one thing is fundraising is not a grant. अगर fundraising हो रही है तो a lot of people think fundraising मतलब कि वो पैसा ही आपको मिल गया और it's unconditional and you live happily ever after.
Yeah.
ऐसा नहीं होता है, right? So number one, a good question that every founder needs to ask is कि do you even need capital? Do you even need funding? Right? So that is an important part. Now, so the point is, even before I come and tell you about my experiences, right? So funding or investors invest because they see a company which can potentially be a $1 billion company. Now, a business which has no potential of being a $1 billion business, which could still be a good business, mind you. ऐसा नहीं है कि a business which is not a $1 billion business is not a good business. I would be happy to run a 100 crore business, yaar. I would be happy to run a 500 crore business, something that I own completely. I don't have to answer anybody, right? I will be, that takes care of everything. 500 crore का business है, 50-60 crore का profit है. That's as good as anything. However, no VC is going to invest in that business.
Oh, is it? Okay.
No
Very
VC is going to invest in that business. VC का objective है that the business should be able to be valued at $1 billion or more. If you don't have a business which does that, right, it is not of interest to the VC. So a lot of people, again, thanks to Shark Tank, उनको लगता है कि हर business के लिए VC open है. That is just not the case, right?
This is very important. Yeah. This is
You
very
want me to
important insight.
explain that? Do you want me to explain that in 5 minutes?
Yeah, please do. This is very
So
important for people to understand.
Can I share my screen?
Yeah, I'll give you the access. Let me do that.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do.
I think you can do it now.
All right. मैंने सोचा था कि if people will be interested, I will kind of share this. Okay, guys,
they are very interested.
Anybody who wants to understand the business of a VC, it's very important. If you want to raise funds, सबसे पहले आप VC का business समझो, and उसको समझने के लिए एक सबसे बढ़िया interesting जो चीज आप कर सकते हो, just go to Google and type Omega Files by Bloom. Bloom is a fund, Bloom Ventures, right? Omega Files, Bloom. This is available openly online. आपको free में सब available है ये कुछ secret नहीं है. Although ऊपर top secret लिखा है, but it is available and they are promoting it, right? But frankly, there is kudos to Bloom as a fund for actually opening bare कि उनका जो fund की journey थी वो कैसी थी. Right, and that actually explains how does a VC fund actually works, and that explains why somebody should be considered as a VC investment or not. Now, I will not go through the entire report. बहुत बड़ी report है. इसमें 100 pages हैं. What I want to do is to take you through 3 pages. ठीक है, 3 important pages which will explain to you कि VC का धंधा चलता कैसे है. अब आपको VC का धंधा समझ आएगा तो पता पड़ेगा कि वो पैसा लगा क्यों रहा है. Right?
Done.
VC is not a bank. VC is not private equity. VC works in a certain way. मैं आपको समझाता हूं. अगर आप जब भी ये स्लाइड खोलेंगे, आप एक काम करना, इसके पेज नंबर 37 पे जाना. ठीक है, I'll tell you now. What has Bloom done with Omega Files? They have explained कि हमने 2011 में they had started a fund with some 98 odd crore rupees, with उसमें कुछ और पैसा भी डाला बाद में, but 100 करोड़ का मोटा मोटा फंड किया और उसको डिप्लॉय किया over the next many years, और अभी उनका पिछले साल फंड को क्लोज किया, which is essentially जिससे पैसा लिया था कंपनियों में लगाया, रिटर्न बनाया, और फिर वो पैसा वापस जिनसे पैसा लिया था उनको वापस दे दिया. तो दिस इज लाइक द एंटायर जर्नी ऑफ ब्लूम. मैं इसमें 3-4 फैक्टर्स बताऊंगा जिससे आपको समझ आएगा कि वो धंधा कैसे बनाते हैं. देखिए, 100 करोड़ रुपए लिए उन्होंने और उसको 78 कंपनीज के बीच में डिस्ट्रीब्यूट किया, इन्वेस्ट किया. तो उन्होंने 78 कंपनीज में इन्वेस्ट हुआ. यहाँ पे आप देखना चाहेंगे कि 78 कंपनीज पे ये 114 करोड़ मोटा
करोड़ पे they invested 114 crores. Done, sir.
करेक्ट. उन 78 कंपनीज में से जो सारा पैसा लगाया, 5 साल लगाने के बाद उनको ये पैसा, ये 5 साल नहीं, सॉरी 12 साल लगाने के बाद ये पैसे का जब उन्होंने रिटर्न दिया तो उनका जो उन्होंने एक्स अमाउंट लगाया था उसका 5.7 रिटर्न आया. इसका मैं IRR नहीं निकाल सकता क्योंकि पैसा डिफरेंट टाइम पे आया, डिफरेंट टाइम पे गया, तो वो कैलकुलेशन नहीं हो सकती. लेकिन आप मोटा मोटा ये देख लीजिए कि वो एक्स का 5.7x वो क्लेम करते हैं उन्होंने रिटर्न दिया. ठीक है, आपको पता है ये 5.7x कैसे बना? नेक्स्ट पेज पे आते हैं उसमें. उनका पूरे 5.7x में से ये रिटर्न आया. उनकी जो 78 कंपनीज थी उसमें से जो टॉप 20% कंपनीज थी, ठीक है, उन्होंने
Yeah.
सारा रिटर्न दिया। व्हाट डज दैट मीन? दैट मीन्स अ वास्ट मेजोरिटी ऑफ देयर कंपनीज गो टू जीरो। अगर मैं 78
Yeah.
करता हूं, उसमें से 34 कंपनीज तो बंद हो जाती हैं। अगर सोचो मेरी 34 कंपनी बंद हो जाती हैं, उसमें और 9 कंपनियां जो कि कुछ हल्का फुल्का बड़ी मुश्किल से पैसा लगाते हैं, 5-10 साल बाद आप पैसा वापस भी दे देते हो, तो भी उस पैसे का क्या ही है, कॉस्ट ऑफ मनी तो गया। ठीक है। तो
Yeah.
तो प्रैक्टिकली आप ये देखिए, घूम फिर के दे डिपेंड ऑन अ वेरी स्मॉल परसेंटेज ऑफ कंपनीज टू गिव टू रिटर्न द एंटायर फंड। समझ रहे हैं?
Hmm.
तो उसमें ये होता है कि
Understood.
आप 100 कंपनियों में लगाते हो, उसमें से आप अज्यूम कर लेते हो 50% कंपनियां तो मरी जाएंगी। बाकी
Hmm.
30% कंपनियां हैं वो ऐसी स्टेट में चली जाएंगी जहां पे आपका पैसा अटक जाएगा। वो कंपनी बेशक नहीं मरी है, लेकिन आपके लिए मरी समान ही है एज एन
Yeah.
इन्वेस्टर। ठीक है।
Yeah.
बाकी 20% कंपनियां आपको पैसा देंगी वापस। उन 20 में से भी जो आप इसमें देखो ग्रे ऑरेंज ने उसको 150% दिया, तो 5.7x का 1.5x, 0.7x, 0.5x, उनका प्रैक्टिकली पूरे फंड का पूरा रिटर्न जो है ना, ये 6 कंपनियों से आ रहा है।
Yeah.
तो अब आप ये देखो, 77 कंपनियों में, 78 कंपनीज में मैंने पैसा लगाया, उसमें से 6 कंपनियां हैं जो मेरे को रिटर्न दे रही हैं। प्रैक्टिकली आप ये कह रहे हो कि मेरी टॉप 10% भी नहीं है, टॉप 10% से भी कम कंपनियां हैं जो कि मेरा रिटर्न डिफाइन करती हैं। नाउ
Hmm.
इमेजिन कि उनके पास ये कंपनी नहीं होती ग्रे ऑरेंज,
Yeah.
तो उनका रिटर्न की तो लग जाती ना।
बिल्कुल।
और ऊपर की 3 कंपनियां नहीं होती तो भैया उनको उनको अपना वीसी फंड ही बंद करना पड़ जाता।
Yeah,
ठीक है।
you're absolutely correct. I think most of the VCs work like this. I mean, a handful of companies become really successful for them.
दैट्स
Yeah.
राइट। सो दे हैव नाउ, इससे क्या सीखने को मिलता है? इसमें कहते हैं परेटो विद इन परेटो, यानी बहुत कम कंपनियां होती हैं जो आपको पूरा फंड का रिटर्न देती हैं। सो इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? अब आप ये सोचो, अगर मैं वीसी हूं, ठीक है, आप मेरे पास आते हो कि भैया ये कंपनी मेरी कंपनी है जी, मैं ये धंधा कर रहा हूं और मेरे को पैसा दे दो।
Mm-hmm.
मेरे दिमाग में एक ही क्वेश्चन आएगा, क्या ये कंपनी इन टॉप 6 कंपनियों में से एक हो सकती है? आप कहोगे कि जी मैं बहुत अच्छी प्रॉफिटेबल 100 करोड़ की कंपनी बना लूंगा। मैं कहूंगा
Okay.
भाई तेरे 100 करोड़ बनाने से मेरा क्या होगा?
बिकॉज उसका जो
मेरा
मैथ्स है
तो
वो फॉलो वो
मेरा मेरी
मैथ्स इज
वैल्यूएशन
वर्कआउट
जो
हो
है,
रहा।
ये सारी कंपनियां जो है ना, ये मल्टी बिलियन, ये बिलियन डॉलर वाले वैल्यूएशंस में जाने की हैं।
Yeah.
ठीक है। तो द
And I
पॉइंट,
even see metal there, and metal is not even in the top 6, 7. I mean, that's a big
करेक्ट,
company, metal जो है।
मेटल,
और उसको
हाँ
तो
मेटल, केतन, आई नो केतन, राइट।
yeah,
एंड मेटल इज अ फैंटास्टिक कंपनी, बट उसने भी कोई
फैंटास्टिक कंपनी,
कोई
रिटर्न नहीं
कोई
दिया।
बहुत खास रिटर्न नहीं दिया मेटल ने भी।
Yeah.
राइट। तो आप ये देखिए, आप देख रहे हैं ये जो टॉप कंपनियां है ना, इन्होंने
तो
फंड लेवल पे अगर उसमें 1 रुपया डाला तो उसने 20 रुपया से ऊपर रिटर्न दिया।
हम्म
सो लॉन्ग स्टोरी शॉर्ट, ये थोड़ा, आई डोंट नो इफ ये थोड़ा मैथमेटिकल आंसर है, बट दी
नहीं नहीं, but I can I just ask one question on this graph that you showed? I mean, does that mean a VC goes by his past experiences, जैसे कि यार मैंने पिछले 5 साल में इतनी कंपनियों में इन्वेस्ट किया था, इसमें से ये मेरी टॉप 5-6 कंपनीज हैं, तो अगर आपका बिजनेस उस उन लाइंस पे है, तो देन दे गेट एक्साइटेड? आई मीन, व्हाट इज इट दैट एक्साइट्स
ऐसा
देम?
नहीं होता। अब क्या होता है ना, टू बी ऑनेस्ट, वीसी बिजनेस इज टू अ बिट इट्स प्रे एंड प्रे। ठीक है। क्या एक बात बताओ, जब इन्होंने 78 कंपनियों में पैसा डाला होगा, तो क्या इनको पता होगा कि ग्रे ऑरेंज है जो कि मेरे को रिटर्न देगी?
नहीं पता होगा बिल्कुल। हाउ डू दे जज व्हेन यू व्हेन अ इन्वेस्टर
बड़ी
व्हेन
नो
अ फंड?
वो
कैसे? अच्छा, कोई
यार देखो, अब आप एक लॉजिकल इंटेलिजेंट आंसर बनाने के लिए बोलोगे तो मैं भी बना दूंगा, बट एक रियल
हम्म
आंसर ये है कि भैया डालो और भगवान से प्रे करो कि भगवान इनको सद्बुद्धि देना और ये बना देना बड़ा। ठीक है। नहीं बट
No, but you had a very interesting. I just want to sorry. I'm just want to chip here that you said not everybody business idea may require funding. I mean, if you do not have a $1 billion business idea, which the VCs get excited by. You have a 500 का idea, 500 crore का business बना रहे हो, तो वो भी अच्छा है. I mean, so first step for any of our community members listening here is first to understand their business proposal or business idea, and if they think it cannot be a multi-billion dollar business, then what are the alternative sources of funding for them? If not VCs, then कुछ और देख सकते हैं. So I just want to harp on that point also, because कई बार लोग भूल जाते हैं कि फर्स्ट थिंग अंशुल सेड वाज कि पहले तो आप ये आइडेंटिफाई करो कि आपका बिजनेस does it even require a VC funding? So that's where we start. Sorry, Anshul.
No, you're absolutely right. That's a very important question to ask. कि भैया,
Yeah.
do I even need VC? And VC does not comes without conditions. VC के पास आप चले गए तो VC first wants a business which is growing. आपको लगता है ना, आप सब कहते हो यार ये लॉस में क्यों बेच रहे थे सारे लोग, ये बाइजू की कहानी सुनते हैं हम, ये सब की कहानी सुनते हैं, तो वो कहते हैं why are they doing this, why are they burning money? Because everybody is trying to push up their valuation, and valuation push up करने का सिंपल तरीका है अपना रेवेन्यू बढ़ाओ, even if you have to sell it for loss. Right? So कई बार वो होता है. Not that is not the case anymore. The environment has changed. A lot of that thing, it's very dynamic. But broadly, that is where you need to judge whether you want to play that game or not. And if you don't want to play that game, that's absolutely perfect. You need make a good, profitable business, because VCB eventually starts to become your boss. Eventually, your board will become your boss. You will not control your board. Compared to that, if I am running a 200, 300, 500 crore rupee profitable business where I own that business completely, or say me and my family owns that business, then you have your liberty. आप करो जो आपको करना है, right? At least VC वाले business में और बहुत सारे constraints भी हैं. So, and money comes after a while, much later than the money comes to your company. So
Agreed.
those are,
Agreed.
and if you want to raise money, there are the traditional routes, right? Which is the कि 2-3 साल 4 साल profitable करो, बैंक से फिर आप धीरे धीरे debt लो, उससे grow करो. It will take a little more time maybe, but that's absolutely okay. यानी think long term.
So I mean, I'm just cautious of the time, but I would just like to take a few questions also. Let me see if there are some questions in the chat box. So Neeraj says, my daughter attended yellow class during COVID. So one of
Neeraj, I read that. Thank you very much.
Neeraj, you can unmute yourself and go ahead.
Yeah, it was a very interesting session she had on the art side, and thank you for that. In fact, we later on we realized कि आपने वो free classes बंद कर दिए थे, आपने बहुत सारे free classes दिए थे.
वो जर्नी ऐसी होती है सर, सारे
बहुत लोगों को recommend किया था कि आप ये free classes कर लो, अच्छे classes है. Okay. Yeah, the monetization part, I think then, yeah, but it fascinating journey you had, very fast growth and everything. So I have a question for you, like when you go out for raising funds, like, and let's say for example, as you said, your business does not show on paper because sometimes we have great ideas, but we may not be able to reflect everything in the business document, like business plan में सारी चीजें नहीं ला सकते हैं. So sometimes people start, like you yourself start judging कि अभी इस situation में, like for example, when I made a few of my projections, I had to actually cut it down, thinking कि यार अभी ये दिखाएंगे तो कैसे चलेगा. Means on the other hand, VCs are looking at maybe business plan जहाँ पर आप 1000 करोड़ मतलब at a 20x valuation और maybe अगर आप edtech में 10x valuation अभी पकड़ लो, तो आपको जब तक आप 1000 करोड़ का रेवेन्यू नहीं बना रहे हो, they will not get excited. But you may feel that अभी कैसे सारा चीज you reveal out. So what is the right way to go about in that, because you have done those valuations?
Two things. One, VC does not give you money for what you have done till date, but the prospects of what you may build over the next 4 or 5 years. VCs are in the business for investing in you for your future. वैसे आप public markets में भी ये कह सकते हो, but there your value is driven by what you have achieved so far. Right? VC, it is about what you can potentially achieve. Right? So almost everyone is getting overpaid when they get funded from VCs. Now, the other part is when you say, Dekhi, you can always say 5 years later, I will be at this level, right? And they will not ask you a precise, detailed business plan of, say, how your balance sheet and P&L will look like 5 years from now. If some VC is asking you for that, then he does not know his job, right? Because frankly speaking, 5 years forward, तो ये मुकेश अंबानी जी भी नहीं बता सकते, या फिर इलॉन मस्क भी नहीं बता सकता कि 5 साल बाद उनका धंधा कैसे चल रहा होगा, किसको पता है यार, right? How will the business look like 5 years from now? But what you can say is, what is important for VC fundraising? Number one, VC fundraising happens because of your ability to build a strong narrative, right? You have to say why your business is going to become so big, because of course nobody can see into the future, practically. So you have to build a right picture to say why this business has the potential to reach 1,000 crores in revenue, right? That is important, right? And from there so whatever it takes to help them visualize it, saying, here is I have captured a small part of a very large market with the right kind of product which everybody wants. So you give them the right narrative, why this is a big pain, why this product is the right product, how I am going to capture this market, why I am the right team, why. So all of those questions have to be answered, which is part of the story building. So वो कहते हैं storytelling जो करनी होती है, this is all storytelling. And then of course business projections and business plan is just part of what you have to submit to investors, frankly, but your business plan is not what gets you the investment.
Okay.
Done. Thank you. Thank you so much, Neeraj and Anshul. I mean, there are a couple of more questions in the chat box, and I'm going to take them. One is from Shweta. Shweta is asking, and I also had this question in mind, is, specific opportunities that you see in education sector? I mean, low-hanging fruits which people can address. I mean, having run a edtech startup yourself, what do you think are the areas that we can solve?
See, I do believe edtech is and will remain a great opportunity. I think there are big opportunities within enterprise level training. I think enterprise training is a big opportunity. Now, of course, there are always small and big opportunities. If you are asking, say, what are like the mega opportunities, I feel there is so much that is possible in training at corporate level, because that is where a lot of money is. That is where a lot of need is, where corporates need to continuously retrain their people, क्योंकि technology advances इतने fast हो रहे हैं that a lot of corporates are continuously feeling that their employees are out of date, right? And that's a very strong need. So I think that those are pieces. The way to look at business is, of course, something that you feel for, plus space where there already is large spend pool. क्या ऑलरेडी वहां पे बहुत खर्चा हो रहा है, क्या बहुत सारे लोग ऑलरेडी वहां पे स्पेंड कर रहे हैं? अगर कर रहे हैं, then those are good opportunities, right? And there are always even rather than trying to do something fancy, let me put it this way, rather than doing something fancy, it is better to do something more innovative within a segment where a lot of expenditure is already happening.
Bhakti, I hope you're listening. Bhakti और मैं यही conversation कर रहे थे अभी 2 दिन पहले.
Anshul, I was.
Shweta, sorry. Yeah.
Uncle, can I ask one?
Yeah, go ahead, Shweta. We are losing your voice. We can't hear you.
To this whole thought.
I
Hi,
can't hear you.
Great presentation and great session at the outset. My query was related. You said that where there's a lot of blue ocean and not a red ocean where you will be bleeding, because there's a lot of opportunity, but also there's lots of players already existing.
So I get you, and it is a problem that all entrepreneurs say कि यार जहाँ पे पैसा है वहाँ already बहुत सारे लोग हैं, जहाँ पे जाने का है, जहाँ पे competition नहीं है, there is always there's a reason why there is no competition, because वहाँ पे business ही नहीं है, right? And it's a real challenge.
Right.
There is no formula for it. If I had a formula, I would be a billionaire just by sharing that formula. But but the reality of life is that my own take is that you should do things close. You try to do something innovative around places where people are spending. And you try to don't. तो वो कहते हैं ना, winners don't do different things, they do things differently. उसी का एक वर्जन है which I believe in, because frankly जहाँ पे लोगों का paying intent नहीं है ना, वहाँ पे आप कुछ कर लो, कुछ भी कर लो, लोग पे नहीं करेंगे, क्योंकि वहाँ पे मेरा paying intent ही नहीं है. जिस चीज के लिए मैं पैसा देता ही नहीं हूँ, वहाँ पे आपने बहुत अच्छा कर भी लिया, तो आपको ऐसा क्यों लगता है कि मैं आपको पैसा दे दूंगा?
Correct.
Right. So which is something that I caution a lot of founders on when they start doing what I call nayab solutions, right? कि कुछ नहीं कर रहे हैं, and you can call me out and say कि यार yellow class में हम वही करने की कोशिश कर रहे थे, कुछ नायाब, and maybe some of my learnings are also drawn from it, but when you are building a business, think long term, go after markets where there is a spend, and try do something interesting and new within markets where you have spends. यानी मार्केट में स्पेंड होना बहुत जरूरी है. अगर आप फ्रॉम अ वेरी बिजनेस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू आप देख रहे हो, तो वहां पे कस्टमर का खर्चा करने का इंटेंट होना बहुत जरूरी है.
Right.
Agreed.
Right. So the need
Perfect.
identification is very important.
Yeah.
Nice. Very, very relevant. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Anshul and Shweta. There are a couple of more questions. I know we are running a bit on time now, but I'll take 5 more minutes.
Sure.
Vikram has said, what is that one metrics which you have always kept in mind while running your businesses, and how has it helped you? And then another additional question that we can answer, together is, can you share a bit about BFS model, vision, and approach to building businesses? I think.
Sure. So let me address the first question first, right? See, very frankly, all businesses have different KPIs, right? And different businesses have different KPIs at different stages, right? So again, it's not a singular point. What is important is that you should have a KPI. I think after a while, maybe because of the daily fatigue and daily run, people stop looking at KPIs. That KPI could be saying, I need to have this much of revenue. That KPI could be, I need to have these many customers, or these many interactions, or whatever that KPI. And that KPI can vary quite dramatically from business to business and for different stages. But have a KPI and just stick to that KPI and just look at that KPI regularly, and that is the only way of success. I think that is what matters.
About
Other
BFS,
questions?
about BFS model.
In terms of my comment on BFS, see, BFS is a place where we help founders get through their whole fundraising process. Now this includes, so what we do, we work with founders where we co-pilot their fundraising process. Fundraising requires you to build a whole narrative about the business. See, investors don't give you money because you have a certain revenue or a certain profit. While that is important, the real reason why investors invest is because you have a strong story, right? Sounds very counterintuitive to a lot of people at different times, but that story tells why this business can be a mega business. कौन कह सकता था 5 साल पहले कि भैया ममा अर्थ बड़ा बिजनेस बनेगा या नहीं बनेगा?
Yeah.
राइट, आप कहोगे यार लोशन ही तो बेच रहे हो, ठीक है, यानी ऑलरेडी 50 लोशन हैं मार्केट में, ये 51वां आ भी गया तो भी क्या हो जाएगा?
Yeah.
Right, so but then it worked, and there was a thought process, there was a story that would have gone why people would have bet after that business and invested in that business to and could see it grow, right? So what you need is to have that story, and what we do, I think 95, probably 98% of the founders do not understand how to build that story and how to deal with investors, what to say, what not to say. And while you are closing your rounds, not to get shortchanged from investors who have done this, who do this every week while you are doing it for the first time in your life. So how does, so for a founder, it's a scary and a lonely journey. What we do is we come in as mentors, coach, and guide founders through through this whole process of fundraising. That's the object goal of BFS Bharat Founder School. What we also have started very recently is to build a community around Bharat Founder School, where we are building up. What we are doing is, we are making a WhatsApp community where we have founders who are raising or in the process of raising or intend to raise. We are making a community where we share content with them, which is relevant to them, because a lot of fundraising content frankly cannot be shared in public, क्योंकि उसमें बहुत सारी चीजें होती हैं जो कि आप publicly share नहीं कर सकते. So in terms of how to deal with investors, what matters, what are the tricks, what are the tips. So for that, we have a community on WhatsApp where we share that content.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Anshul. And so, post this session, I'm sure people will be asking me, how do we reach out to Anshul? So can I give out your email ID, or how do we reach out to you?
Absolutely. Happy
Yeah,
to,
I can.
kind of connect. You can share my email ID for that matter. If you want, I can share
Perfect.
my ID here. I'll
Yeah,
just
you can
put
also
out
do
my
that in the
email
chat.
ID in the chat.
Yeah.
It's
And
simple, Anshul at
while you're
bharatfounderschool.com, by the way. Yeah, but I'm
so
still typing it. Yeah.
Puneet is asking, how does one join the WhatsApp community that you just mentioned?
You can just email to me on this email ID, Puneet. I'll share the link with you.
Super. Wonderful. So, I mean, one last question that I have from Vikram, and I think it's a very relevant question as we close off this conversation. I mean, Vikram says entrepreneurs are lonely as they have to keep the team motivated and at the same time face the harsh truth of reality. How have you managed this balance in your own life?
It is a lonely journey. इसमें कोई दो राय नहीं है. That is, and the fact is, while that is also true, where everybody is looking at you, your team is looking at you, your investors are looking at you, everybody else is looking at you, your customers are looking at you, and आप किसी के सामने जाके रो भी नहीं सकते. ठीक है, कम से कम जॉब में ये होता है कि यार कहीं वाटर कूलर पे खड़े हुए, बॉस 5 गालियां निकाली, यानी मन हल्का और आगे बढ़ गए. ठीक है, द पॉइंट इज आप यहाँ पे किसको गालियां निकालोगे? ठीक है, तो यू आर काइंड ऑफ स्टक.
I just want to add one thing here. I have my anecdote. I'm famous for my anecdotes. But in one of the startups I used to work, there is big money. And when you were mentioning कि एक बार पैसा उठा लिया VC के पास, तो उसके बाद VCs become your bosses. And this was a young startup founder guy, and he had raised millions of dollars, and we were sitting in Delhi, big corporate office, and he comes to me, and we were, I was talking to him, and he said, "यार हमको बहुत थक गए." So I'm like, यार कितना काम होता है. But he was a young guy, and I'm like, मेरे दिमाग में चल रहा था कि he's a founder. You have raised millions of dollars, and then that founder, after raising that amount of money, having VCs at his head, also felt very, demotivated, and he wanted somebody to talk to, and he opened up to me. So I completely agree with you. I mean, it's very hard because the employees, when they are thinking as the founder, it's very tough for a employee to, have those conversations with the founder, because they're all looking at him and they're like, if
नहीं
you are
बोल
tired,
सकते
then how
यार.
are we?
For that
Uh,
matter, I'll tell you very frankly, there are days जब आपको लगता है यार ये धंधा चल क्यों रहा है, मेरे को तो समझ ही नहीं आ रहा है कैसे चल रहा है. ठीक है. अब आप जाके अपने एम्प्लॉय को बोल दो कि यार मुझे भी नहीं समझ आ रहा है धंधा कैसे चल रहा है. तो वहां तो आग लग जाएगी. ठीक है. वो कहेंगे
वो तो
भाई,
है.
वो जो शिप का कैप्टन है उसको नहीं पता ये शिप कहाँ जा रहा है. तो कहते हैं हमको तो द प्रॉब्लम इज वही है कि आपको लग रहा है कि भैया सब फटा हुआ है, ये क्या हो रहा है. एंड देखिए स्टार्टअप में तो फटा हुआ होता ही है. तो कहते हैं यार नहीं समझ कि होगा कैसे, लेकिन चलो भाई चलते हैं. So that
I agree, यार.
so that is
Fake it till you make
how.
it वाला सीन है. Fake
Yeah.
it till you make it वाला सीन है.
हाँ. And but then the fact is you need to have your own support system.
Yeah,
आज की
yeah.
डेट में हम जैसे भारत फाउंडर स्कूल में भी काम करते हैं, एंड कपल ऑफ माय फाउंडर्स आर लाइक क्लोजिंग राइट नाउ, राइट एज वी स्पीक. यानी उसका हो रहा है कि यार ये इन्वेस्टर है, ये इन्वेस्ट तीन, तो मैं उसको ऑप्शन, मैंने कहा यार एक से इंटरेस्ट आ गया, मैंने कहा दो ऑप्शंस और बना, क्योंकि जिस दिन वो नेगोशिएट करेगा ना वो तुम्हारे कपड़े उतार देगा अगर तुमने
Yeah.
इसमें निकाले तो. मैंने कहा ये ऑप्शंस निकाल, वो नहीं करे तो. एंड द फाउंडर व्हाट दे अप्रिशिएट मोस्ट इज द फैक्ट कि यार मेरे पास एक आदमी है जो कि मेरे साथ हेल्प कर रहा है, somebody who has been in this space and can actually guide me. Otherwise फाउंडर के साथ क्या होता है ना, वो बड़ी प्रॉब्लम, वो पेरेंटिंग वाली प्रॉब्लम हो जाती है कि जब बच्चा होता है ना तो आपको समझ नहीं आता इस क्रिएचर का किया क्या जाए. ठीक है. एंड विच इज व्हाई पेरेंटिंग आल्सो बिकम्स वेरी स्ट्रेसफुल, राइट. क्योंकि आपने कभी नहीं किया पहले. एंड एटलीस्ट पेरेंटिंग में देयर इज यू हैव योर पेरेंट्स, यू हैव योर नेटवर्क, योर सोसाइटी. एज अ फाउंडर यू हैव नोबडी. हम कहोगे यार अब मैं क्या करूं, उसने मेरे को ये ऑफर दिया है, इज दिस अ गुड ऑफर, इज दिस अ बैड ऑफर,
Yeah,
there are some
yeah,
terms and conditions which is going to screw my life later on, right. And
yeah.
there are those things. Now how do I even know, which is what we try to solve in terms of fundraising. We don't claim, at least today we are not saying we can do that for your growth and business development. वो भी जरूरत है, लेकिन आई थिंक एवरी फाउंडर नीड्स टू हैव देयर सपोर्ट सिस्टम, पीपल जिनके सामने जाके वो रो सकें, कहें कि भाई अपने को कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा है क्या हो रहा है ये वो. एंड somebody who's been there in that position before to appreciate कि
Yeah.
what you would be going through.
Thank you so much, Anshul. It has been a fun conversation, but really, we loved it that it is straight from your heart, straightforward. I mean, no filter, and that is what we love at TOC. Straightforward conversations, frank conversations, from the ground, rooted conversations, and I think all of us had a great time listening into you. I'm sure all of us that were part of this conversation took something away that will help them better do better at their business or jobs or life. And thank you so much for opening your heart and you're opening your experiences to all of us. We look forward to staying in touch with you, staying connected with you, and probably having you back in some or other collaboration that we can do for between the Bharat Founder School and TOC. Gratitude from both me and Bhakti and the entire community for being here with us. And thank you.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed this session. I hope people would have taken some takeaways. Not very high hopes per se. I think थोड़ा भी किसी को थोड़ा भी अगर value है, then it is all worth it. Thank you very much, and great initiative. I think these communities really have so much more that they have contributed to compared to what credit they get. But I know these communities, these intimate communities are so important to guide people when they need it the most in the most efficient, effective way. So great
Thank you,
job, Ankur, and thank you very much for calling me.
thank you, Anshul. Bye bye.
Thank
Good
you.
evening, everyone. Have a nice evening ahead. Bye bye. Thank you so much.